Are you ready to go? Here's the red light.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's Council Work Session and Citizens Night. Today is Thursday, September 8th, 2011, approximately 7:30 p.m. And right now, we'll go off of the list of the residents who did sign in to speak before council. And if you would please adhere to our 5-minute issue unless council decides to engage you more. And right now, we have Georgiana Woodhull, if you would
Mayor,
please.
point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
I believe the ordinance is really in consideration of the business meeting on the 5-minute rule. We've gone through that before, and Citizens Night is really not restricted by a 5-minute.
I'll defer that to Mr. Dice.
Yeah, I don't think we've insisted on it at our this meeting. We have at the business meeting.
Okay.
And
It is for the business meeting.
yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Point well taken.
Right.
Please.
Just to be clear, we're in the public hearing portion of the meeting dealing with the ordinances.
No, this is Citizens Night.
Okay.
If you'll please state your name for the record.
I feel like I've been cut off already. Georgiana Woodhull, 4560 Broadway Boulevard. Mayor, I just had a couple of questions before I get into the main reason that I'm here. I noticed in the Times Express you had another article in there, and it was, your comment was, Mayor Arasenko understands that the impact that infrastructure has on a local economy based on his involvement with Building 1 Pennsylvania, a collection of community leaders from throughout the state working in part toward improved infrastructure. And I went online to Building 1 America, Building 1 PA, and I was clicking on, reading on the different member organizations, and either I'm missing the part on all the infrastructure, because like I clicked on member organization Institute on Race and Poverty, and it just seemed to be all on, the race and poverty and problems, and I don't really see that here in our community. And I then went to the Institute for Housing, Innovative Housing Institute. Now that's also on the list of member organizations, and it just seems to be about HUD and affordable housing and how you work that into the community. And,
Well, that was certainly part of it.
and
yeah.
all I'm asking is, where do you look on this website of Building 1 America?
Well, you know what I'll do? I have not had a chance.
I'll be
to-
honest with you, I really took the time to look over it because I know you said there's money that you can get from that, but
Tiger
it seems
grant,
like you
yes.
can't get the money unless you get into this affordable housing and bring that into your community with sustainability and.
That's not what Secretary LaHood, when he addressed me on that issue, there was never that brought up. There's just a Tiger grant out there for infrastructure issues for road repair, bridge repair. I don't know why they don't have that on there, but I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'll call me on, well, tomorrow's a bad day, Monday, I will get you in touch with the appropriate officials.
Okay, well, can I hand this in just for you to look at as
Sure.
part of the?
Sure.
Okay, and I'll just hand that in after with the rest.
But
of
again, I don't know who takes care of their website or any of that stuff. I was only one of many members there, so, I'm not in the management end of that, if you will.
Okay. I might be thanking you prematurely, but thank you for referring Kate to our meeting at the RDA on August the 16th. That was the only speaker we had at the meeting. And she is the chair. Her name is Kate S. Luxembourg. She's the chair of the Wilkinsburg Redevelopment Authority. And she began her speech by saying, "I came to ask a question, but I don't like to ask for something without giving something." And during her presentation, I never did figure out what she was asking from the Redevelopment Authority, and I know that I had asked Mrs. Allison, and I watched the tape, and I was wondering if it would be okay at Tuesday council meeting to play 10 minutes of that tape from the Redevelopment Authority meeting. It's only on the speech, because I'm not real familiar with this, and I think that, you know, I'd like council to listen to it, and you to listen to it, and maybe get some feedback.
Maybe what we can, well, help me out here.
I don't think it's more than 10 minutes. I try to time.
I was going to say, we can put it on a disc for everybody to watch it at their leisure, though. I think that's, the business meeting, I don't think would be, I mean, you've made it perfectly clear that you want to keep them separate, and I thought maybe if you do want us to listen to that, and I'd certainly be interested in listening to it. We can put it on a 10-minute disc for everybody
And
here.
I kind of like, too, I mean, I know we advertised the Redevelopment Authority meeting, but there wasn't anybody else from the public at the Redevelopment Authority meeting, and I thought this would be a good place to do it, because if people in the public are interested, that they can, you know, see that part of the tape. I mean,
Again, I would think that the 10-minute on a DVD would be appropriate for council, and if they have any questions, maybe they can get back to you on that. That's certainly my spin. Again, that's not really appropriate for the business part of the
okay,
meeting.
well,
I mean, that's my opinion.
okay. I take that as a no, then?
Correct.
Okay. Anyway, she gave all the board members her business card, and she talked about the CITF grant that I know everybody's familiar with. And she stated that that they had applied for a grant, but there was some controversy surrounding the Wilkinsburg Redevelopment Authority. And she brought up something called estate administrators. It's the Redevelopment Authority acts as the state administrator of an estate. And I was kind of confused by it, so I went online and I brought up, and I'm going to turn this in for council. It's February 6th of 2007. Redevelopment authorities as personal representatives in Pennsylvania. A new law in Pennsylvania allows redevelopment authorities to receive letters of administration. A redevelopment authority granted letters of administration has the power to take, clear, combine, and transfer title to real property of the estate as necessary to return such property to productive use and upon payment of fair market value of the property in its current state to the estate. It's a little confusing, but it's like taking someone's property without the use of eminent domain. So I'd like to hand that in to council.
Has this been an amendment to the urban redevelopment law?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
That's what, it's confusing.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, when she had mentioned that there was some controversy around the Wilkinsburg redevelopment.
Mr. Dice would like to see that. Maybe he can help us out here.
Okay, but I'd like to read the rest of this, and I'll just give it to Mr. Dice. And I was a little confused because she said there was some controversy around the redevelopment authority. So I went on to the internet, and I found this article. It's from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, Saturday, July 30th, 2011. A Wilkinsburg official tied to home burglary. Police arrested the chairwoman of the Wilkinsburg Redevelopment Authority on Friday on charges she used her position to plot a burglary. Kate Luxemburg, 65, of Wilkinsburg, and Richard Funk, 48, of Braddock Hills, were scheduled to be arraigned last night on charges of burglary, theft, conspiracy, and other crimes in connection with the burglary of a vacant home on Rebecca Avenue. Luxemburg lives on the same block. Luxemburg holds a volunteer position with the borough, and Funk is a former public works employee. A borough secretary said borough manager Marla Marcinka could not be reached for comment. Luxemburg told Funk and an unidentified man on July 7th that the Rebecca home was being taken over by the Redevelopment Authority and that the two had permission to remove items from the home and garage, according to a criminal complaint filed against Luxemburg by Wilkinsburg police. Luxemburg had a list of abandoned and vacant properties in the borough, police said. Mark Taney, who lives on Kelly Avenue behind the Rebecca home, told police he saw Funk remove about 4 truckloads of material from the home at about noon on July 7th, the complaint said. Police said Funk took copper, appliances, and other items. Taney said he then placed a chain and lock on the gate leading to the backyard of the home, and it was secure on July 11th. The complaint said Taney told police he saw Funk pull his truck up to the fence that day, and a short time later, he saw Funk in the backyard. Taney later found the chain and lock cut from the fence, the complaint said. The homeowner, Beth Hoffman, told police the home has been unoccupied since her mother died in 2003. Neither the borough nor Luxembourg own the home, the complaint said. When a detective told Funk he needed to speak with him, Funk said, "I need to stay away from Kate. She's going to get me in trouble," the complaint said. The pair have preliminary hearings scheduled on Thursday. This, what I just talked to you about, the administrator, the redevelopment authority being the administrator of an estate. This is something that I don't want to be involved with for obvious reasons.
No kidding.
And no, and I'm serious. This is something, Mayor, the best thing you could have done would have been to decertify the redevelopment authority, because really, there's no need for it. Absolutely none.
Well.
And I'd just like to bring up one more point.
Sure.
Because this is horrible, this whole mess with the redevelopment authority and what I just read to you about taking over these estates, somebody's estate. I had asked you at the last meeting, you said you sent a letter to UPMC and said that you were going to pull the letter.
I thought about it and decided, no, it was good for Monroeville. I did not pull it.
But you weren't in a position to even go after that money.
I beg to differ. I am the mayor of this town, and
Yes,
I
but
thought it
you're
was good for
micromanaging
Monroeville.
the redevelopment authority, and you're going after funds, and you're using municipal letterhead,
Ms.
you know.
Woodhull, if you have issues within the redevelopment authority,
No, I have
it's not
issues with you
appropriate
stepping
for-
beyond your, what you should be doing. That's
Well,
what I
it's
have
good for the
issues with.
community, and I'm not going to stop. I will help the redevelopment authority in any way I can.
Okay, well, Mayor, you're really out of line when it comes to the
Well,
redevelopment
you're
authority.
certainly entitled to your opinion.
And what I got at the meeting was a letter dated August the 5th from UPMC. Dear Mayor Forosinko, on behalf of UPMC, I'm pleased to inform you of a forthcoming donation of $5,000
That is
in
correct.
support of the municipality of Monroeville's redevelopment authority. For any details related to our contribution, feel free to contact me directly at 412-647-8481. This is sincerely Robert Kennedy, Vice President, Government Relations, Chair, Corporate Contributions. Right now, the redevelopment authority has no money. Where's the check, Mayor?
They'll send it, I guess, when it's appropriate. I guess it should be any time now. And if you're not that happy with the redevelopment, you keep saying I should decertify it. Why don't you just resign if you're not happy
I don't
with
plan
it?
on resigning, Mayor. I made a commitment, I made a
Well,
promise,
then
and I
why
will
do you
keep
keep
it.
asking me to take it down? Why do you keep going down there? I don't understand. You're talking out both sides of your mouth then.
No, you're, Mayor, you're out of line, and,
Well, you certainly can have that opinion. and
like
I'm
I
okay
said,
with
who's
that.
accepting the check?
I would assume you're chairman.
Well, that's against the bylaws. I mean, do you have the
Well,
bylaws?
whatever's appropriate, then it'll be done.
Do you know who it should come into? Bruce, who should the check be written on?
I would think that the donor, the person who wrote that letter will be in contact with the organization, and he'll make arrangements to pay it in some fashion.
My
I don't know
question-
how it's going to get done.
You said there are letters addressed to the mayor. Should the check not be written to the mayor of Monroeville?
Oh, it's not going to come, I wouldn't think that the
No.
money's going to come through the municipality. What I hear her say, I haven't seen the letter, it sounds like UPMC has donated $5,000 towards the redevelopment authority.
And if anyone at the redevelopment authority accepts it, don't they have to be bonded?
Well, I think, well, sure, I mean, I would,
Wouldn't that
you would set
done
up
first?
I would think an account would be set up,
Okay.
and you would, and this would be addressed at your redevelopment authority meetings, and you would set up an account, the monies would be deposited into that account. Like any other public entity, there would be some bonding requirement.
But, I mean, well, the
it-
bylaws indicate that you have to be
Okay.
bonded, so before anything's written, wouldn't that be a requirement? to do
Certainly
it? I mean-
before anything could be drawn out of the
Okay.
account.
I mean, you can get it.
I think you could
form
deposit it,
you put it in the whatever bank of the choice, and then.
Of the
before anything's
redevelopment
written on it.
authority.
Right.
and that would be the redevelopment authority's choice as to what bank it would be. And they have to follow the bylaws, there's no question about that.
Is there a state law with regards to being
Yes.
bonded as
Yeah.
well? So
Sure.
this isn't just the bylaws before
It
anything?
would be the municipal authority, it would be the redevelopment authority, it would be any authority that's the arm of this government.
I'm not aware of anyone being bonded at the present time. Now, who should be bonded?
Well, I would think whoever it is that you authorize as signatories on a checking account. And those would be the individuals that
Yeah,
would.
there's two, but there's four, there's all of them are able to distribute funds, so wouldn't it be all of them?
You mean anybody can sign the check?
And two signed and two enter into, treasurer, and they're required to have the treasurer and chairman.
Okay, but I really believe that's the business of your authority. I don't know why we're talking about it at council.
I agree.
I mean,
Well, council created the redevelopment authority.
There's no
And
question.
there's been interaction.
now you're
And now
created.
you're trying to turn this
You are
thing
now
around again.
created.
Yeah, my
You
question
exist
was
and
just
start-
where the check was going to go to ensure it was going to go there, because you wrote the letter. I want to make sure the check wasn't,
No,
Go to
and
the
I
mayor
agree with
and
you on that, Diane.
and then I had just.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that.
And the reason we're here is because our mayor went out soliciting funds for the redevelopment authority, which is really up to the redevelopment authority, Bruce.
So you want to return the money?
We don't have it yet.
I mean, if
We
you
don't
get it,
have the money,
when
but
you get
I
it, you
would-
want to
I would-
return it.
If it were up to me,
Yeah.
I would put it to better use.
Okay, I mean, I don't know what to say to that, because I think that, obviously UPMC thought this was a worthwhile venture, I guess. I would suggest to you,
Based on the history of the redevelopment authority.
that's not my call, that's their call.
Okay, Lois, you
I
were
have
at the
some,
meeting.
no,
Can
no,
you-
I am just sitting here with my mouth open. I'll let you finish.
Go, please go.
Where do I begin? Well, first of all, I have great interest in this because, I've been taking notes for years. I've been taking notes. I took really good notes, actually, 4 years ago when the Monroeville Growth Alliance minutes were made available. And these notes laid out all of the desires for the redevelopment authority to go forward. And I think that year was 2007. And I think that, you've pointed to those notes in past meetings, and I've tried to read them, and I didn't get to read them. And then I finally read them. And so I added them to my notes of 4 years ago. And in fact, that's the reason I got involved in the community and decided to run for office, was due to an RDA issue. I'm looking back, and the first thing that popped out here was, of course, some very basic things about the state law that allows council to create an RDA. And I've got my writing here, that was done in 1977. It was a Supreme Court ruling that creates the authority board members to be appointed by the mayor. And Williamsport had one, Clareton had one. Provisions limit the authority's power to issue bonds and condemn properties. That was the attempt to rewrite the statute. The RDA is an agency, like we have discussed here, is an agency not of the municipality, of the Commonwealth. And council has a legal right to add stipulations, certainly, to the authority's exercise of power, since those powers come from the municipality. So beyond the RDA receiving, staff support, which I believe that they may want some staff support, and as other boards do and commissions do, it would have to seek grant money. So all of this stuff was laid out, and I'm looking back at my notes here, and I really want to take another look at them here, because as I look back, the premise, the people who were pushing for this on the Monroeville Growth Alliance, their premise was really incorrect 4 years ago. The people pushing for this, the RDA, the Monroeville RDA, they were primarily a developer and an attorney for a developer. Neither one, by the way, who lived in Monroeville. They said, we have to act now. And they stressed coming in with projects that would revitalize not residents, but the business district. And this was also around the time, I think, that Westinghouse was leaving Monroeville, I think. So, well, what they said was that we needed to rush forward to do, all of this stuff 4 years ago. It didn't become true. I know, because I attended the most recent, in fact, I filmed the video that you're referring to because I was here on the 17th, I think it was, of August for this meeting. So you fast forward to this August when we had, when the mayor decided to appoint and get behind the RDA, and the RDA had their organizational meeting. You know, I observed carefully at that last meeting, and the only person, as you say, was one that I believe the mayor was inviting. That person was concerned about residential property, and this is different than 4 years ago. You know, in fact, that person was part of the Building One America meeting. I think that was called by the mayor 7 days prior, and that was held at the Senior Center on August 10th before the August 17th meeting. So, you know, they had people there. I happened to be in the garden that night, but I know that meeting was going on. And I also know from listening to Ms. Luxembourg that she explained that this, you know, that the process in Wilkinsburg had been, you know, involved with legally attaining this residential estates, as you describe, under the urban redevelopment law or something like that. So if the RDA would, you know, attain these properties, it would open up an estate and be the benefactor of those homes. So now, you know, what they did in Wilkinsburg is very interesting. I find that I'm very shocked.
Point of order. I don't understand why we're going through all this.
Well, if I could continue to explain, I have had 4 years in the making of following something, and as I said, Mayor, 4 years ago, I decided to get involved in my community because of this issue.
Just get to the bottom line.
So I would appreciate having the floor.
Sure.
So-
But a point of order, what does this have to do with Monroeville Council? This is a
Well, Mayor, you
Oh, it
stepped
very
out
much
of
has to
line.
do-
Excuse me, Mayor, but you did go out soliciting funds, and that was not for you to do as the mayor.
Oh, I'm going to solicit more funds.
I
going
would
to
advise not
continue.
to.
Well,
For yourself, or
in
something,
fact-
not
Well,
for...
In
I'm
fact-
still going to do it, so,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
I have a question.
Sure.
You say that it's for the good of Monroeville.
Yes,
that
it is.
You're doing this.
Yes, I am, sir.
The RDA is an agency that is not Monroeville. It is a different agency, a different governmental entity that we have created.
That is correct.
Under what premise do you, as an official of Monroeville, act for the school district?
How do you figure I'm acting for the school district?
Well, I don't think
No.
you're acting for the school district.
but how would you?
If you notice the confusion on your face, that you don't act for the school district,
No, I don't.
for the same reason, you can't act for the RDA.
I'm not acting for
You are.
the
If you are
RDA.
asking for money for them, if you are soliciting funds for them, then you are in fact acting on their behalf. And just as you could not act on behalf of the school district, on behalf of Murraysville, on behalf of Penn Trafford,
Why don't we do this?
Allegheny County,
Why
or
don't we do
anyone
this
else.
here, Council? I would like to ask Mr. Dice, and I know you can't.
I'm
do
not
it
through
now,
making my
Wait.
point, Mayor.
legal
Lois, go ahead,
opinion
I'm
on
listening.
it.
I'm not, Mayor, I have the floor. I'm not through making my point.
Well, get to your point, because again, you're talking RDA stuff for the council.
Well, you know, I'm glad you're staying with me because that is my point. Okay?
No, well, it's not appropriate.
This is more than appropriate, Mayor, and I'll explain to you. You know, first of all, I'm going to finish my thought here because I've been following this. I've been doing homework on it. I've been doing homework for 4 years on this. And there are some questions that come up here because the focus of where the RDA is asking to go now. And you should also consider, while we're talking about this, that this becomes low-income rental housing. And in redeveloping residential properties, one has to consider the availability to do that, okay? The availability, the resources to do that. So I got a couple of questions, and these are rhetorical. I'm not asking you to answer them now. Where are you going to get the money, first of all? This is the question, to buy those homes that if you had been in the role and those homes were vacated by the estate, where are you going to get that money? How are you going to pay for all the fees that would be associated with, you know, fixing up the homes, et cetera? Wouldn't you therefore need to be bonded? I don't believe the RDA is bonded, and doesn't, in fact, going after bond add to debt? We have to consider adding to the debt. By this process, does Monroeville leave itself up to absentee landlords in the process of having, what we may have in trying to capture some housing market that way? And then here's the other one. Does this encourage more rentals? If an RDA is set on buying these properties and they have to fix them up, I have the suggestion, it's already been made. Why not just utilize the county? We already have a county redevelopment authority, and why not just let them do it? Aren't they bonded? Are they bonded? I believe they are. And no one's talking about, ownership in properties and homes here, where the normal stakeholder is going to buy a home, they're tied to their community. But, how these things change under a rental housing, So we have a zoning map. And that zoning map has to be balanced. And it is balanced according to zoning districts. We have districts for single-family homes, industry. We have business districts. And this includes a great number of multiple family units and rentals and that are good and necessary. And we have this. We have a balanced map. So in recognition of how we've developed these various zones, my question is, does this encourage more rental property? Because you had better consider that. And also, I have visited, and I mentioned last month, visiting the Building One America website, because that is the first thing that I did when I found out that the meeting in Washington was actually a Building One America meeting that happened to be in Washington. So if you visit that website, that it was that was a recently discussed major issue when they met in Washington. It was also the focus of the follow-up meeting with the mayor called Building One America at the Senior Center, where attendees from Wilkinsburg came and from Penn Hills, and they added to this conversation. So this begs other questions. And what in the world is the mission of the recently refurbished RDA? Okay, let's just take a minute and examine how their focus has now taken a 180-degree turn. The proponents of the RDA have gone from saying, we have to act now, and on behalf of the business district, and 4 years ago, to admitting a few weeks ago that there was no longer a focus on that business district, Mayor. So how in the world would their sought-after money be found? And do they happen to be bonded? And I think the answer to the second one is no. And more to the point, has the RDA received any money? I suppose it's in the process of getting it, and we had heard about the solicitation letter, and, there's money attached to this. If that answer is yes, would the Monroeville RDA happen to be bonded? If the focus is no longer revitalizing the business district, but low-income rental housing, is that the question? So let me just cut to a chase now that I've taken all this time. And, Mr. Solicitor, I'm just going to suggest that we draft an ordinance for Tuesday, September the 13th business meeting. And this ordinance will be to dissolve this Monroeville Redevelopment Authority. I see all kinds of reasons that I've just outlined and that have been discussed here. And it has lost its focus. And frankly, when people rush to do things to benefit the business district, all of the businesses that were in question had already had buyers looking at them. So nothing was left over, just residential properties, and every one of those concerns went away, leaving residential land, which in this economy presents the kind of events I've been, thinking about right now. And it's time to ask ourselves, why do we even have an RDA? So bonds, debts, residential estate property that's alleged to criminal activity in other areas where it's obviously fallen in the wrong path. I am officially requesting that ordinance be drafted for Tuesday night. And I am through.
Do you have anything else?
Mayor, I would just like to say, I know that you've spent the last couple of years with that 5-stage plan, economic development, and I can see a difference in the business district, in the commercial business district of 22, but what I don't understand is how you think you can pave the way of doing more in your business district with low-income housing. That's not the way to smart growth.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, I'm going to address a little bit of that, and I'll just, as far as Councilwoman Drumheller, I don't think you have any clue what you're talking about on that. It's my opinion. There was no mention, at least in any conversation I've had with anybody on the Redevelopment Authority, about low-income housing. To our residents, I'm going to talk to you. I would hope you will support me in my endeavors. I still think it's appropriate that I, as a mayor, assist that redevelopment authority to get off the ground and run. They had no funding. They had one meeting, one official meeting, and already they're getting beat up. Now, my understanding at that meeting, all that really was just to appoint the chairman, the vice chairman, and the treasurer. And yes, that young lady did address the RDA as a whole, but that's all that has happened. Obviously, I will call UPMC tomorrow. I will address the issue with them in regards to holding the check until they have a checking account. I guess that'll be at their next meeting. Didn't attend the first meeting, have no intention on getting involved in the Redevelopment Authority's business. But I thought, as your mayor, and I'm going to politely again disagree, I don't know where this low-income housing is coming from. If it would be me, if it'd be my hope, they would look at all our businesses to redevelop it. Look at 22. We're finally starting to get some movement out there. Redevelopment Authority, my opinion, is to enhance business to even look at us, maybe with some small funding to help them, maybe with permitting or things of that nature, to make it a little more attractive for them to consider Monroeville. In my opinion, we're still the hub of the East. So I'll listen to you, my residents. I've talked to you, many of you out there, and you have supported that endeavor on the Redevelopment Authority. Some of my colleagues feel I have no business to try to get them off and running. They're certainly entitled to their opinion. And again, I'm going to ask Mr. Dice to please render a legal opinion on if what I did soliciting funds for the redevelopment was any way illegal, or any way that I'm trying to run it, micromanage it, any of that effect. I'm just trying to get them startup funds and leave them run on their own.
That's an excellent idea, Mayor. That's an excellent idea.
I did not interrupt you, Lois.
Nope, I'm just praising you.
So what I'm saying is, Mr. Dice, if you would please do that, I'd appreciate that.
Well, first, clarification. Nobody said that an illegal action took place. What we said was it was completely out of the scope of your responsibilities.
Well, then let's do that, check that out as well, if that's out of my scope. I'd like a legal opinion on that, in writing.
Excellent idea.
And while we need to advertise an ordinance, and so we wouldn't be able to vote on it Tuesday, I would second that we decertify entirely, whatever the process is. I know there are two phases, but there are two phases that have to take place to entirely eliminate a redevelopment authority. There is no good that has ever come out of a redevelopment authority.
I totally do.
There is no good that's ever come out of it. Look at Kelo versus New London. That is the perfect example of what redevelopment authorities are about. And it happened right at the time that we created this stupid thing. It is an egregious abuse of governmental power to create RDAs because they are only about one thing, and that's eminent domain, stealing private property. There is no benefit to an RDA. We need to eliminate it 100%.
Well, I assure you, I will veto that action, so just know that up front. I will certainly veto it. Would anybody else, there's no other person signed in on our sign-in sheet, would anybody else like to address council at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the Citizens Night portion of our meeting.
And just,
Here.
as I